Well, hi everyone. I'm Tim.
And I'm Michael.
Welcome to TMI.
That's the Tim and Michael Information Show. What are we talking about today?
Well, today we are talking about finishing. How do you know when you're done with a piece?
I think mostly that happens when we're talking about drawings or paintings or any sort of, that art medium as opposed to film. Because I don't think anyone's going to be editing a film.
Yeah.
I'm done. I've edited before, and I'm sure there's been times where we just say, I want to be done. I want to be done right now. But I think more so we're talking about paintings, drawings, any sort of that, maybe even three-dimensional art medium.
Sure.
Why don't you talk about any troubles you've had with that? Explain more about finishing or knowing when you're done.
I think it's really a common problem because almost every single thing I do, I'm working, and I'm like, well, when's it going to be done? I can still add more here. Well, this doesn't feel quite right. Well, I could push this value more. I could bring out this shape more. When I was doing my 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea piece, you remember that?
I remember
you were in that class.
Yeah.
And let's put that up on the screen so all you view at home can see what that looks like.
That nice little pool of light. You did a nice job.
Well, thank you. Now, obviously, I was on a deadline with that, so when I did it for class, it was very, very close to being finished. It was probably about 90-95% done, and I put it up there and it was obviously acceptable. It was going to get a good grade. Everyone loved it, no problems there. But of course I took it home and I kind of pulled a George Lucas. I'm like, I could change this and I could add more, and what if we put this in here? And I think I ended up putting a little life ring there to give it a sense of scale and change just how big that monster was. And at one point, I felt like it was 95% done, and I'm like, cut. We're just going to stop here because I need to move on to other things, and you have to do that.
So you think also that maybe it's we run into these situations where suddenly we say, oh, I've got other things to do, I don't have time to work on it. That happens with you?
That's what happened here, and I think that's what happens in real life, because honestly, you don't have all day, all your life to get this done.
And even interesting, because even if it becomes your job, I guess you have deadlines too, don't you? And I guess I've also worked on something. I remember when I worked a lot with pen, just black and white pen and just doing that medium. I kind of ran into that problem a lot too about when I started getting into some details and doing castles a lot. I said, when do I finish? When am I done? And maybe you run into that problem a lot. I have a quote that I brought today. Yes.
I love a quote.
Well,
Is it a quote for me?
Not yet. Ask us in 20 episodes.
Yeah, it might be eventually.
So this comes from, again, my theater background, 6 Degrees of Separation by John Guare. I hope that's how we say it, Guare.
John G.
John G. And there's also a movie. So if you have a chance to see the stage play, if you're anywhere around the Orange County area, hopefully, I know Gary Krinke does a good solid production of it, and he does it pretty often. But if you can't see any live production of it at a local theater for you, there is a wonderful movie starring Donald Sutherland, Stockton Channing, and Will Smith that was made in 1993. It is pretty phenomenal. It's so good. And what I'm going to read to you is a quote from Flan, who's played by Donald Sutherland. "This is what I dreamt. I didn't dream so much as realize this. I feel so close to paintings. I'm not just selling like pieces of meat. I remembered why I loved paintings in the first place. What got me into this? I thought, dreamt, remembered. How easy it is for a painter to lose a painting. He paints and paints, works on a canvas for months, and then, one day, he loses it. Loses a structure, loses a sense of it. You lose the painting. I remembered asking my kid's second grade teacher, why are all your students geniuses? Look at the first grade, blotches of green and black. The third grade, camouflage. But your grade, the second grade, Matisse's. Every one of them. You've made my child a Matisse. Let me study with you. Let me into the second grade. What is your secret? I don't have a secret. I just know when to take their drawings away from them." There we go. That's a quote. So I remember.
That's brilliant.
Yeah. Oh, that whole show is like that. It's just filled with good literature, and hopefully you find a production of it where you've got just actors and a director who have the vision for it, and they deliver all of those words. You should hear Donald Sutherland do that speech, or Brian Kojak.
YouTube.
And so, I'm going to buy that on Amazon. That's what I'm going to do.
There you go. You got your day planned out now.
So I think it's knowing when to take it away. We don't always have someone who can take the painting away from us, or the drawing or whatever it is. So how do we know when to take it away?
I think whenever we paint or draw as artists, we know when we've got the essence of it. We kind of stop putting lines on the page and colors on the page, and we go, there it is. You get the essence of it. There's that word again, essence. When it starts having form and having a life of its own, and that doesn't mean it's done, but I think that means you're kind of over the hump and you're mostly there, because at that point you might be adding details or touching it up and making it more fleshed out. And probably a good way to measure it is once you get to that point, just sort of goes to a stop.
Oh, while we're at it, might I throw something up on the screen?
Yes, please do.
So this is something that I just did, and that's Lincoln, the melodrama play that I wrote and directed. And now, as you can see, does it look familiar? It's a play on the Lincoln poster.
Yeah, satire much?
Yeah, well, it's a melodrama. It's a vision I had, but when I was doing that, if you actually look at it, the color and everything here, I kind of did like in the very few beginning, just those quick blotches when I went back and detailed more things like the hair and the face. And then I realized that I didn't go back. Remember when we saw Brian Kojak? I'm not Brian Kojak.
Vance Kovacs?
Vance Kovacs.
Yeah,
I just said Brian Kojak was in a production of 6 Degrees that I saw.
Really?
So Vance Kovacs, and I'm like, too many Kovac happening.
Okay.
We saw Vance, and he talked about just all of the detail that's important and letting the rest of it fall away that isn't so much wherever you want your main focus to be. And that's what I kind of was inspired by too. I was like, and you're talking about the essence. I think as long as you get the whatever detail is that you need to pop or you need to focus on, and then maybe just wait until it feels good to you. I showed you the picture and you liked the hair. Thank you again for the compliment.
It was beautiful.
Thanks. and it was. I was just working up close on it, but then I pulled away and realized that I had it, and I said that looks good. And I just told myself to stop. I think if you get to a point where you're drawing or whatever it is, a painting, and you say that looks good and really good, I think if you step back. Oh, that's another thing.
Yes.
Walk away. Norman Rockwell. Paintings. He had, by the time at the end of his life, in his room where he would paint, a whole solid walkway of the floor that had actually been beveled inward, and just because he would always walk away from his paintings to look at them.
Wow.
You think you need to take a chance to stand back, look at it, and then when it hits you, the essence is Tim's talking about. I think that's a good marker for you to know when to stop.
Absolutely. And again, with the details, you got to be careful with those, because it's easy for your hand to kind of go, become nomadic and start wandering and just putting random details wherever you kind of feel like it. That's definitely a good place to at least pause and figure out, well, see, is this actually helping the work? Or is it not? Keep in mind that the focal point of your piece tends to be where the detail is, whether you like it or not. Our friend Eric Baker was doing a creature the other day, and the head was kind of plain, but the tail was really detailed, and I told him, you need to move that detail up to the head, because everybody's looking at the butt right now.
It's a beautiful tail, but...
I know, right? It's not a peacock. So suffice to say, to reel it back in, if you're putting details all over the place, that's probably not helping your piece. So when you got just that right amount of detail to make the head or the front or whatever it is the focal point, that's when it's time to step away.
As we're wrapping up too, I think.
Well, is it time to stop?
I think we're getting there.
How do you know it's time to finish?
I just feel it in my bones.
Okay.
And by feel it, I think we probably have 5 more minutes. No, but
true talk show.
This is actually a good segue for another episode: digital versus traditional. But I do think that it's good for anybody out there that if you're working. Or you think you're going to work digitally and you get used to Control-Z, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Undo.
I miss that in my traditional painting.
Right? But
Yeah.
do a traditional painting. Take a piece of paper and actually go through something, because just be confident in yourself that that's what you're doing. I just started using Photoshop. I haven't really used a Control Z. I just kind of keep painting over and keep painting over to fix it, or work with pen.
Which is what I tend to do too. So.
Yeah. Any last thoughts on knowing when to stop?
You know what? I think now is the
Is
time
it?
to
Is
stop.
this us? No,
This is it.
I think this is us trying to stop, because we could keep going,
Step away.
and then
All right.
I think we're good. Thank you so much for tuning in, everybody.
We'll see you next time.